Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc.
Trinidad and Tobago and Grenada brace for Tropical Storm Brett. Our top story in Caribbean Newsline for Monday, June 19th. From the CMC News Center in Bridgetown, I'm Dawn Paris. Good evening. The first storm since the June 1st official start of the Atlantic hurricane season has formed. Tropical Storm Brett is inching closer towards Trinidad and Tobago and Grenada, forcing the authorities to announce measures to deal with the landfall later on Monday night or early Tuesday. A hurricane hunter on Monday afternoon found that the system had developed into a storm, and the National Hurricane Center in Miami said in its 5 p.m. advisory that the system was about 125 miles southeast of Trinidad and about 225 miles southeast of Grenada and was carrying maximum sustained winds near 40 miles per hour. Brett is moving toward the west-northwest near 30 miles per hour and is expected to continue at a slightly slower speed over the next 24 hours. On the forecast track, the tropical storm is expected to move near or over Trinidad and the eastern coast of Venezuela tonight and early Tuesday. A tropical storm warning is in effect for Trinidad and Tobago, Grenada, and parts of Venezuela's east coast, while a tropical storm watch is in effect for Bonaire, Curacao, and Aruba. The Trinidad and Tobago government has announced the closure of schools, but Minister in the Office of the Prime Minister, Stuart Young, said at this stage the government's position is that there should be no panic. Tobago journalist Whitfield Turner says the impending storm has affected the sister isle as well.
Tobagonians will have to wait a bit longer to find out the contents of the 2017-2018 fiscal package for the island. This is just one of the major activities which has had to be postponed due to the impending weather system. Finance Secretary of the Tobago House of Assembly, Joel Jack, was due to deliver his budget presentation in the Assembly chamber on Tuesday morning. However, out of an abundance of caution, Chief Secretary Kelvin Charles announced on Monday that the budget would now be read on Thursday. The Chief Secretary made a revelation at a news conference following a meeting of the Tobago Emergency Management Committee at the headquarters of the Tobago Emergency Management Agency. TEMA's Emergency Operations Center was fully activated at 6 p.m. on Monday, while shelters in some of the most vulnerable communities will open at 8 p.m. All schools and government offices will remain closed on Tuesday, and all flights and sailings between Tobago and Trinidad have already been suspended. Residents are being told to stay tuned to radio and television for updates and to call the 211 call center in the event of an emergency. Persons living in low-lying areas, as well as in structures they deem not strong enough to withstand the cyclone, have been asked to evacuate ahead of the system's arrival. The Trinidad and Tobago Electricity Commission will leave the grid up for as long as possible, and residents have been told to do what is necessary to preserve life and property. The Ministry of National Security and Trinidad's Office of Disaster Preparedness and Management are on standby to render assistance if needed. Reporting from Tobago for CNC News, I am Whitfield Turner.
In Grenada, the National Disaster Management Agency said it's continuing to monitor the weather system, and the authorities have also announced that all schools will be closed Monday. It said tropical storm conditions are expected to first reach Grenada overnight Monday into Tuesday morning with moderate to strong convection and thunder showers. Residents, particularly those living in the south of the island and in flood-prone areas, are being urged to be especially vigilant. Caribbean Airlines has cancelled 31 flights as a result of the impending bad weather. CAL's communications manager Dion Legore says there was no choice but to ground some of the flights. Both regional and international flights have been affected.
Service BW483 out of Miami to Port of Spain, which continues to Guyana, that has been cancelled. Our service for BW481 from Fort Lauderdale is cancelled. BW485 from Orlando to Port of Spain is cancelled. BW434 from Port of Spain to St. Lucia, and of course the return leg BW435 that is cancelled as well, and BW448 and 449, which service to and from Barbados to Port of Spain, is cancelled, as well as BW883, which goes from Port of Spain to Suriname.
Meanwhile, regional airline Liat has also cancelled 8 flights. It says there may be further disruptions to its schedule, and any additional affected flights would be published in a subsequent advisory. Passengers who have been affected will be allowed to rebook within the next 2 weeks, with all change fees waived. In other news, former Jamaica Prime Minister Bruce Golding has described as foolishness the positions being advocated by 2 CARICOM leaders regarding the ongoing political situation in Venezuela. The Prime Ministers of both Antigua and Barbuda and St. Vincent and the Grenadines are insisting that the Organization of American States, the OAS, stay out of Venezuela's affairs. They've also urged their regional counterparts not to be part of any effort to force regime change in the country, where opposition parties have been staging street protests in a bid to force the Nicolas Maduro government out of office. But Golding insists that the region must not simply support Caracas because it has been good to its Caribbean neighbors. The former Jamaican leader said, quote, "Venezuela has been good to us, but the government of Venezuela has proceeded in a direction that we cannot condone. I think that this argument that is being advanced by Dr. Ralph Gonsalves and the Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda, Gaston Brown, about non-interference is foolishness. And I say it's foolishness because the same argument could have been advanced for apartheid South Africa." End quote. In his latest communication to regional leaders ahead of the start of the OAS meeting on Monday, Gonsalves reiterated an earlier position that the quest for a regime change in Venezuela could destabilize some CARICOM member states. In his June 16th letter, a copy of which was obtained by CMC, Gonsalves said nefarious plans are afoot to sow seeds of division among CARICOM member states. And Prime Minister Brown said Antigua and Barbuda would not support regime changes fomented in a clandestine manner by some countries in the Americas. Golding said he supported the position of Jamaican Prime Minister Andrew Holness, who has said that the OAS is an appropriate forum to discuss the issue. He says while CARICOM was ideally placed to be the mediator, that can't happen now because of sharply conflicting positions that have been taken within the group. Golding said he also supports the position taken by Trinidad and Tobago that it's necessary that OAS Secretary General Luis Almagro be removed because he has compromised himself and is in danger now of compromising the OAS. Golding said, quote, "He cannot lead or coordinate the OAS's intervention in the matter. He has acted improperly, where he has taken a very hostile position towards Venezuela," end quote. The main opposition St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party took its domestic grouses to a regional parliamentary conference on Monday, with former Prime Minister Dr. Denzil Douglas expressing concern about the stability of democracy in the Twin Island Federation. Addressing the opening ceremony of the 42nd Regional Conference of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, the opposition leader said his legislators were no longer prepared to accept the abject irrationality and callous impartiality on display in the National Assembly. Detailing several allegations of atrocities meted out to the opposition by the Speaker Michael Perkins, Douglas said he hoped the conference could be used to restore rationality and propriety to the proceedings of the Parliament in St. Kitts and Nevis. Douglas told delegates that it was imperative they play a pivotal role in demonstrating the commitment of speakers of parliaments and all parliamentarians of this region in not only protecting, but more importantly, strengthening and advancing parliamentary democracy. He said it was sad that parliaments in some parts of the Caribbean have retrogressed and morphed into extensions of the executive branch of government. And Douglas said his delegation was looking forward to the discussions on the role of the Speaker, the role of the opposition, and the role of the Parliament in promoting democracy, peace, civility, stability, and prosperity. The Jamaica Hotel and Tourist Association, the JHTA, is warning that the worsening crime situation in the country could severely affect the tourism sector, one of the island's main earners of foreign exchange. Hoteliers are particularly concerned about the crime problem in the western part of the island. JHTA President Omar Robinson warned that the crime can affect the safety of workers, some of whom come from troubled communities where the violence is taking place, and it also hurts the island's image and ultimately visitor arrivals. He said the association will be seeking a meeting with Police Commissioner George Qualo to discuss the situation. Robinson says the hoteliers want to see comprehensive crime measures implemented as quickly as possible. Figures released by the police show that nearly 600 people were murdered in Jamaica during the first 6 months of the year. Jamaica recorded 1,350 murders for all of 2016, with the police claiming that 65% of those were linked to gangs. Coming up in Caribbean Newsline, Dominica examining legislation to ban smoking in public places. That story and more after the break.
Follow your heart to the 21st edition of the St. Kitts Music Festival from the 22nd to the 24th of June, featuring Shabba Ranks, Ultimate Rejects, The Boozman, Mobado, Jack Pure, DJ Private Riot, and back together again, Square One. Also performing Third Word, Voice, King Mighty Chalk Dust, Credence Clearwater Revisited, Ed Robinson, Ricardo Drew, Teddyson John, Felicia Ross, Brianna D, Lyrical, and Goo Goo Dolls. For more information, log on to www.stkitsmusicfestival.net.
Celebrating 40 years of fun in the June-July sun. Vincimas 2017. Enjoy the exciting blend of mass and planet steel and glitter. There's a Monday street party like no other. And the explosion of colors at Mardi Gras. Don't be left out of the Vincimas 40th birthday celebration. Evo 4.0. Evo 4.0. There's Kaiso and the energy at Soca Monarch. June 30th to July 11th. Vincimas, the hottest carnival in the Caribbean. Check out Vincimas on Facebook or carnivalsvg.com for more details. Vincimas.
In a place where legends start, the beach is just the beginning. So live a little for the exhilaration and the color of every moment, where time is and life is a spirited event. Immerse yourself in the culture, the music, the people, the island. Love Antigua and Barbuda. Embrace an experience that leaves you breathless, from cricket to sailing week to carnival and more. Antigua and Barbuda, the beach is just the beginning.
Welcome back. Dominica is reviewing draft legislation which could lead to the island restricting smoking in public places. Health Minister Dr. Kenneth DeRoe says a consultant from the Pan American Health Organization, PAHO, is in the island assisting government in the revision of draft legislation for this tobacco legislation. He told Dominica online publication The Vibes that the island has a draft legislation regarding tobacco from other CARICOM countries, and they'll look at those and see which are relevant to Dominica. The legislation will then go before Cabinet for review, and the Health Minister says his hope is that it can be taken to Parliament soon. But he said Cabinet must satisfy itself first that all the provisions within the law respect people's rights. Several Caribbean countries will be represented at the inaugural Robot Olympics in Washington, D.C., USA next month. Grenada, Guyana, and St. Lucia will be among more than 150 countries expected to participate in the championship. To raise awareness about the current and future dangers of the issues surrounding water security, the inaugural First Global Challenge will focus on access to clean, drinkable water. Grenada's team built a robot called a SteinsBot. Spokesperson Nathan Best explains how it would help to clean a contaminated river.
We have two molecules here. We have a water molecule and we have a contaminant molecule. Now what the robot has to do, it has to be able to differentiate between the two. So the orange is a contaminant and the blue is a water molecule. And we have different things that will be used to differentiate between the two. For instance, we have two sensors that will be implemented into the robot, a proximity sensor and a color sensor. And those two sensors will be used to tell how far away a molecule is from the robot and what color that molecule is. Again, the molecules are represented by the balls. So we have a servo and the bar here, and this will be used for the robot to latch onto that bar and be able to pull up itself. As you can see, it is already strong enough to hold up the robot, so we have no problem with that. We are unable to demonstrate for you all this afternoon the working functionality of the robot wirelessly controlled because we are missing a component, but that will soon be replaced. No.
How excited are you guys for representing Grenada?
We are very excited, like I said. You can see it on their faces. This is the first time Grenada is participating in such an international competition. So it is a learning opportunity for us to see what is available out there in the robotics world and in the field of technology, and also to expose ourselves to the Big Apple, I should say.
Guyana will be hosting its first robot and technology exhibition later this month ahead of the DC competition. Team representatives explained how they think robotics can help develop their country.
We are Team Guyana Robotics.
I believe that robotics can help change Guyana in all the sectors and just build the economy.
The oil sector, they will use a lot of computers. They will use robots because those depths that they drill for oil, man aren't suitable to go down into those depths. And they will need people with the knowledge of programming. They will need people, really great engineers. And that's what we're trying to build here. Well, it's got to start small. We got to start somewhere.
Now to news from our partners over at France Carré Broadcast. Two of the islands in the French West Indies are assessing how mosquito-borne viruses are affecting them. The Regional Health Agency of Guadeloupe has published an assessment of the management of the Zika crisis, saying that too many pregnant women have been infected with the virus despite the heightened state of vigilance. And in Martinique, health officials say the vector must be controlled to prevent an epidemic.
In Guadeloupe, last year's Zika epidemic lasted 5 months, affected more than 30,000 people, including 700 pregnant women, and led to the discovery of 15 fetal malformations to date. Many of the planned prevention and control actions have been carried out correctly thanks to the rapid mobilization of key actors, including state agencies and local authorities, not the Regional Health Agency, which stresses the positive impact of material and human reinforcements for medical care and communication action upstream of the epidemic. But some prevention initiatives have not been conclusive. All the comments for lack of resources could not mobilize, and the broadcast messages have not always reached the population targeted as the most fragile, particularly women of modest condition or not speaking the French language. More generally, there are now 3,500 mosquito species in the West Indies, 23 of which are listed as the particularly redoubtable species, particularly responsible for the transmission of dengue, chikungunya, or more recently, Zika, Aedes aegypti. This mosquito is an excellent vector for all these diseases. So, if we need containers to collect rainwater, we cover them to prevent the mosquito from growing inside. These are tips that are given regularly. Also for the gutters, it must be ensured at the time of construction that they have a sufficient slope. This information must be pounded so that everyone understands that these diseases in particular are due to a specific mosquito that is in each of us. Although no epidemic threatens our territory since that of the Zika declared in 2015, the specialists remain on their guard. Other viruses can happen. We know in particular that the yellow fever virus is currently very active in Brazil, which is not very far from us. And then there are other viruses that can emerge that one knows not yet or not very well, and which can appear to the extent that the mosquitoes that transmit the disease are present. Health crises that impact the population heavily. The specialist from France is studying infection in tropical environments. According to him, behind every epidemic, there are procedures to be put in place, as for the dengue, that still lay dormant with us. There is very little scientific evidence to show that special treatments are working. On the other hand, we have forgotten or not stressed enough that standard treatments such as paracetamol, anti-inflammatories, quinine, it works. With the recurrence of epidemics on our territory, this conference in Martinique aims to synchronize the action of health professionals so that they can face the next episode more effectively.
And we thank our partners over at France Courier Broadcast for that special report, and we encourage you to join us every Monday for news from the French West Indies. And ahead in Newsline Sport, next week's West Indies practice game against the Trinidad and Tobago 11 is called off, and we'll tell you why after the break. Stay with us.
The Cedric O'Cahill School of Business and Management invites you to attend Navigating a Path to Growth, a risk and competitive intelligence conference at Hilton Barbados Resort on June 26th and 27th, 2017. Speakers include Global Strategy and Risk expert Dr. Andrea Schotter, Regional PwC Risk Assurance Leader Bruce Scott, Miss Lisa Padmore, Dr. Delisle Worrell, Mr. Ian D'Souza, Professor Patrick Hossain, Professor Julian Marcel, and many others. For more information, call 246-424-7731 or visit www.uwichsb.org. Secure your space today.
If you like dancing and whining and fretting till the morning, if you like drinking, masquerading, live music always playing, if you like islands of blue seas where people always smiling, if you like street jams and bandstands where people will be jamming, don't you miss this time, no. Our festival, our legacy. Don't you miss this time, no.
Beautiful Barbados and 4D Entertainment welcome you to the Flow Soca on the Hill, Sunday, July 23rd, 2017, where the mega stars of Crop Over 2017 assemble with the Caribbean Fest, Patrice, Skinny Fabulous, Ricky T, Orlando Octave, and Ultimate Rejects to bring you the world's greatest soca party, the Flow Soca on the Hill. Let's gather the people.
Our West Indies practice game against the Trinidad and Tobago 11 scheduled for next Tuesday has been called off because of the involvement of exiled left-hander Darren Bravo. Cricket West Indies President Dave Cameron says Bravo cannot play cricket unless he removes the controversial tweet which led to him being sidelined for regional duty. Trinidad and Tobago Cricket Board CEO Suraj Raghunath confirmed that position to TVJ Sports over the weekend.
Impasse between Darren Bravo and the Cricket West Indies president Dave Cameron has floated back onto the front burner with news that a 50 overs practice match between the Red Force and West Indies has been called off. CEO of the Trinidad and Tobago Cricket Board Suraj Raghunath told TVJ Sports by telephone Saturday afternoon that the Cameron-led board has insisted Bravo cannot play unless he apologizes.
The West Indies Cricket Board indicated that they had a problem with Bravo playing in the game. The match has, however, been called off because it was indicated to me in writing by Roland Holder that the West Indies Cricket Board had not gotten the VPA's approval for the international team to play at the National Cricket Centre in Balmain, and that was an issue. So as a result of that, the match was called off.
The 28-year-old Bravo has not played for the West Indies since November 3 last year. The left-hander had his match contract for the Tri-Nation Series with Zimbabwe and Sri Lanka cancelled after making a disparaging tweet to CWI President Dave Cameron, where he called him a big idiot. Cameron made it clear in a TV interview aired by Lion and Length on Friday that Bravo must remove the tweet and face a disciplinary hearing before being allowed to resume his international career.
Every day that that tweet stays up is an infraction. Secondly, he needs to accept that he's done something wrong, and then we can move forward from there. But we have decided as an organization, it came up at the board meeting, we will put it in the disciplinary committee and let them have a look at it and determine, if there is further action to be taken, how that will go, and we'll move it from there.
The West Indies are preparing for a one-day series with India, scheduled to bowl off at the Queen's Park Oval next Friday, June 23.
Meanwhile, Cameron says senior West Indies players need to come to grips with the harsh reality of their performance-based requirements, stressing that experience alone would no longer count in the issuing of central retainer contracts. Speaking against the backdrop of Bravo's rejection of a Grade C contract last year, Cameron argued that West Indies players now control their own futures because once they performed, they and not Cricket West Indies dictated the quality of contract they received. Cameron also contended that seasoned players need to translate their experience into performance instead of hoping for a high-level retainer based simply on their length of time in international cricket. Cricket West Indies determines the grade of contracts on a points systems based on player performances over a 12-month period, and Cameron said players were aware of the performances required in order to stake their claim for higher grade contracts. Cameron said going forward it was important that senior players understood the stated policy of CWI and still in cricket, and he hopes the Windies harbored of overtaking Pakistan and clinching the crucial 8th spot in the International Cricket Council one-day rankings have all but disappeared, as the Asian side has surged to 6th position following their capture of the ICC Champions Trophy on Sunday. In the latest rankings released on Monday by cricket's world governing body, Pakistan gained 4 points to jump from 8th to 6th on 95 points, now ahead of 7th place Bangladesh on 94 and Sri Lanka, who slipped to 8th on 93 points. With the success, Pakistan have further enhanced their chances of automatic qualification for the 2019 World Cup in England, while West Indies slipped further behind in their quest to also seal a direct spot at the tournament. West Indies remain in 9th spot on 77 points in the latest rankings, following a disappointing 1-all draw in the recent 3-match series against ICC associate side Afghanistan. And that's sports. We'll be right back.
Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc.
Ready. It's another episode. When we out on the road, this is what we love to celebrate, to celebrate. This is not Hollywood. No, we don't come out the road. Drink, drink, drink. King Baba and Nikita. Every fact that a boy keep on calling me wrong name, but that's okay, 'cause that's my bitch. I don't understand how wearing a name tag on me. You know what to say, he's still calling me wrong name. Don't get vexed with me. Don't say that.
Ravenel's Resort and Conference Center is the mecca of conferences in the island of Tobago. The state-of-the-art facility caters to executive forums, weddings, banquets, training, elegant dining, and tranquil accommodations. Guests at Ravenel's Resort can choose from self-catering, standard, deluxe, and executive rooms. Sit at the poolside and savor the ambience of nature, or enjoy a sumptuous meal on the terrace and inside the Bouvardia restaurant. Let's go to Ravenel's Resort and Conference Center, the tranquil Caribbean Resort. Call 868-639-9666 or visit our website at www.ravenelsresorttobago.com.
A recap of the major developments of this day. Trinidad and Tobago and Grenada brace for Tropical Storm Brett. And in sport, a West Indies practice game against Trinidad and Tobago 11 scheduled for next Tuesday called off because of the involvement of exiled left-hander Darren Bravo. And that's Caribbean Newsline. For news and sports round the clock, log on to ConnellNews.com. We'll be back here again tomorrow. But from all of us at CMC News, thank you for watching and good night.